Oh yes. Does it get any more epic? I think not.
Epic!
Yes. Okay, right, back on Blue Please here on WoW Radio. If you've tuned in for something else, well, you made a mistake. It is on Friday. It's not going to be on Friday every day of the week. Friday every day of the week. That's officially the stupidest thing I've said all month. Goes on the list of stupid things I've said, including the inevitable will happen, which I deserve a slap around the head for. Never mind. Anyway, yes, we moved the show for Monday because I had insomnia, basically. Hadn't slept, felt a bit... well, a bit crap, really. As you do after having 36 hours of non-sleep. Which is now what I'm calling awake. Non-sleep is the word of the day. You have sleep and non-sleep. That is your entire life. Right, I have an announcement for you lots. The regular Blue Please listenership and those listening, of course, in the archives. I got a job. That means Blue Please is no longer going to be happening at the regular time of 7 PM Eastern Standard Time. I've agreed with Athelus that it will be moving as the flagship show for the new European project. I don't know which day it's going to be. It will probably be a Friday, a Saturday, or a Sunday, so I will see what happens there. It will still be in a perfectly listenable time slot for Americans without jobs, or Americans with lenient jobs that allow them to listen at work. It will also be available on the archives as usual, but it is getting moved. So, thanks to all those, including the Europeans who stayed up till midnight or beyond to listen to this show. It's getting moved to a European slot. That will happen within the next month. And I apologise to those who won't be able to listen live because of this, but it's either that or no show at all. So there's the alternative. Speaking of the EU shows, we'll be getting some more at some point. We have demos coming in. If you wish to submit a demo for WoW Radio, you need to be able to talk about WoW for a minimum of 1 hour. It's hard. You need to be able to talk for a minimum of around 10 to 15 minutes per section. So submit a demo to WoW Radio. It has to be an hour long. You need to talk about WoW. You need to distinguish your show from the existing shows. Don't do a carbon copy of any of the stuff that already exists. It won't get accepted. But head over to the WCRadio.com website. That is, of course, WCRadio.com. Click the forums, get on there, and get involved. Also, WoW Radio is happy to announce that RP PvP server guilds will be being created on EU and US. Now, you know what I think about RP PvP. It's silly, but I'm going to play anyway, especially if there's one being created on EU. I will be involved in whatever guild that is, although I probably won't play very much. Because, quite frankly, I'm dedicated to my guild, the Halibuts, and they all rule except for Surfer, who is a twat. Anyway, RP PvP guilds. If you want to play with the WoW Radio lads, and lasses, of course, head over to WCRadio.com, click the forums links, and have a look. Right, submit your stuff for working as intended. We've got a few in already, and I'll read those out a little bit later on in the show. The idea this week is to try and solve the dishonor system. I say solve because, as far as I'm concerned, it's not working. And turn it into something that's actually functional and discourages ganking and unfair play, rather than now discouraging raids on cities, which, as far as I'm concerned, is a criminal offence. Raids on cities are fantastic. They should always have been in the game, and they should never be stopped by things such as dishonor and server crashes. So that's something that needs to be addressed. But anyway, on to the topic of this particular segment. Now, I've been playing WoW since EU launch, so I've seen it change. Inevitably, it changes. And it made me wonder, is Blizzard following a policy of simply piling more and more and more content up layer by layer by layer by layer, and possibly forsaking fixing some problems with the older content? Take, for example, Arathi Basin has been announced, and I'll be talking about some of the features there and discussion of Arathi Basin a little bit later on in the show. Arathi Basin has been announced third battleground. However, the other two still have issues. which have not yet been fixed. The Alterac Valley looting issue, the AFKers, the Warsong Gulch issues with the invisible flags, etc., etc. Now, I'm not one to criticise Blizzard for no apparent reason, but it makes you wonder, are they doing that, and is it acceptable? So you've got your usual MMORPG, MMO game in general. We are paying for a service. Therefore, we pay for upgrades, and we get them, as intended. We get changes, we get additional content, the game will grow and grow and grow until we get an expansion pack where it will grow in a big step, and then it will continue to grow, until it eventually, inevitably, at some point, dies out. As do all games, as do all things. So, is it an acceptable policy? And has it been what Blizzard's actually been doing? Let's go back to the start. Day one. What was the ultimate aim of World of Warcraft? Was there ever an ultimate aim of World of Warcraft? Not sure. But I could have safely say that on day one, Ragnaros had something to do with it. Ragnaros is the toughest boss, or was the toughest boss in World of Warcraft. Anoxia was not, it was the second. People think Anoxia is tougher than Ragnaros. No, it isn't. If anything, Anoxia was a casual raid instance, the first and only example of course, we're getting Zul'Gurub later on. That should be exciting. However, so the aim of World of Warcraft was to take Ragnaros down, and the best weapons were to be had there. Now, before the upgrades, the best craftable weapon, Arcanite Reaper. We already know this. However, that has been superseded. There are better and more attainable weapons. The Unstoppable Force is arguably a better weapon. It does more maximum damage. It has the same speed. Same speed, more maximum damage is better. It's that simple. Simple mathematics. 3.8 speed, 3.8 speed. One has more damage than the other, therefore it's better. And you don't have to spend however many Arcanite bars to get it, and pay obscene crafting fees and risk having your Arcanite stolen by a ninja, etc., etc. So, Arcanite Reaper was the best, now it is not. Is that progression, or is that replacement? Or is it simply variety? Another good question. Did Blizzard decide? Okay, well, we've got to encourage people to go into the battlegrounds rather than do the normal thing. We want to increase variety in the game. A very admirable goal. So what we will do is we will create the battleground system and we will give rewards that are comparable to Arcanite Reaper endgame stuff. So we've got the Unstoppable Force. It takes less time to get the Unstoppable Force than it does to get the materials required for an Arcanite Reaper. That is pretty much commonly accepted as truth. Therefore, why get an Arcanite Reaper? That's a good question. Some people will argue that the Arcanite Reaper is better. I would say yes, you may be right if you prefer the Axe build over the Mace build. Anyone that has played a warrior or knows anything about the warrior talent tree knows that in arms there are various different talents which relate to different weapon types. Therefore, you can specialise. And your big one for PvP has been Axe Mortal Strike build. Mortal Strike being a talent which does a big hit, it's instant, and it halves the healing ability. Is it half? I think it's something like that. It halves the healing ability of the person you attack. And the idea of using an Arcanite Reaper with the Axe build, with the MS, is that you can inflict maximum damage in a quick smack. That's the idea. That's why people use it in PvP. However, you can still use the MS build, but with a mace. However, a mace gives a different bonus. If you were to learn mace specialization, that's not even a word. Specialization. I'm going to the WoW Europe site now, which has new talent calculators on, if anyone's interested. They are better than the ones on IGN. They're more up to date. They've got a preview of the new Hunter talents if you want to check those out. So I am heading over right now to try and find it. Which, there we go, talent calculators. Now, the warrior. Arms. Let's see. Axe specialization. Increases your chance to get a critical strike with axes by 1%. You got 5 goes at it, so it gets it up to 5%. Ouch. Big ouchie there. So arguably, that is better than the mace specialization. Gives you a 1% chance to stun your target for 3 seconds with a mace. However, in reality, when you get a critical hit, you still do more damage with the unstoppable force. Yes, it increases the chance to do it, but you do more damage when you get a critical hit with the mace. Plus, you get that lovely stun chance, and stuns are nice. We all like stuns, I should hope. So, it's an interesting puzzle. And it makes me think, maybe it wasn't a replacement. Maybe it was something that was very close to the Arcanite Reaper, but gave a different option. Beforehand, you wouldn't go for the mace specialization. I can't remember what the endgame hammer is. Is it the Hammer of the Titans? I believe it's the Hammer of the Titans, or something along those lines. Two-handed mace. You'd go for the Arcanite Reaper because it had a higher max damage and therefore was better at Mortal Strike. No two ways about it. Now you have an option. Mortal Strike with Axe. Mortal Strike with Mace. Both equally viable. Which is interesting because when I first thought, I thought, oh dear, they're replacing the Arcanite Reaper, and it's a kick to the teeth of anyone that worked and grinded to get it. That you can now get a weapon which is arguably better. Now I'm thinking, maybe that wasn't the case at all. Maybe it was a misconception on my part and the part of other people. In fact, it's giving a choice. And it was the same thing with the Ice Barbed Spear. I still believe the Ice Barbed Spear is far too easy to get. You don't need Exalted in AB to get it. You just need to do a quest and you will get the Ice Barbed Spear. It's a bloody good weapon. I think it's too good. And it's too easy to get. But, as the warriors in the WoW radio listenership kindly pointed out to me, polearm specialization is further down the tree. Therefore, you can't go with the Arms Fury build, which is your good PvP guild. Guild? Build, yes. Ho-hum. Interesting. Perhaps Blizzard were more thoughtful than we thought. Perhaps they are plotting behind our backs, plotting our demise. It's quite scary to have a clever games company working on a game that you're playing. They're sneaky, evil. But it's certainly an interesting possibility, isn't it? Right, I think I've talked about that one quite long enough. And you non-warriors may be asleep at this point. So I'll introduce the first feature of the day. The first recorded feature of the day, anyway. And they call this one the one and only Ask the Murloc. And if I can find my button, I will actually play the Ask the Murloc sound. But it seems to have disappeared. I don't know why.
Ask the Murloc.
Ah, there it is. Ladies and gentlemen, you are listening to Blue Please here on WoW Radio. And it's time.
Ask the Murloc. Ask the Murloc.
Dear Murloc, what is a tank? I've heard of these but have no idea what they are. Are there Taurens driving around in Sherman tanks? Or night elves in panzers?
Gar in fear, mortals, for it is I, the Murloc! Ha ha! I'll be taking possession of your women and shiny objects, so please have them ready for delivery. You foolish peasant! The answer is so obvious even to one as mentally impaired as yourself. A tank is a special kind of mount, created by the gnomes. It is a 0.01% drop rate, so you'll have to slaughter thousands of gnomes to obtain one. But of course, you should be doing this anyway, nasty, vile little creatures. When equipped, it switches the in-game difficulty to easy mode. Makes you invincible, lets you wear plate armor, and gives you the ability to get out of danger, no matter what it is that's attacking you. Oh, no, sorry, wait, that's paladins. I always get confused. Ha ha!
Ask the Murloc.
Dear Murloc, I won the role for the Emperor's new cloak, but I don't see it in the game interface. I can't see it on my character at all. I added an enchantment for +5 to all resistances, but still the same bug. Can you help?
Yes, a tricky conundrum for a blithering imbecile. Haha! You see, the Emperor's new cloak is made of a new and very expensive fabric. It is imbued with magical powers, and the wearer is unable to see it. However, everyone else can and will be dazzled by your radiant splendor. In fact, the Murloc knows a very good tailor who can sell you an entire set of the same fabric, sure to make you totally invincible in PvP. Make payments to the Murloc for a value of 900 gold and you will receive your items. Of course, you'll not be able to see the packages, but rest assured they are there. Haha!
Ask the Murloc.
Dear Murloc, can I have a link to some kind of guide to fastest leveling with some class?
What in the blue blazes? Questions like this make me wonder if people are actually trying to communicate or simply bashing the keyboard at random and hoping something legible comes out. Leveling with some class, eh? Well, that's quite simple. Simply purchase a full Succeedum outfit and AoE grind while wearing it. Leveling with class. Ha ha! The Murloc is hilarious. I assume you meant a guide to leveling quickly with any given character class. That's a very, very simple one. Simply email Blizzard at omgpowerlevelinghacks I want to buy gold at blizzard.com. Give them your account name and password, credit card details, address, and a list of characters you would like leveling to 60 and giving 2,000 gold each. They'll be more than happy to help. Now I must be off. The Murloc has a date. With Destiny! Ha-ha! Die, noobs!
Ask the Murloc.